Hey everyone, and welcome to UK Media Warrior. Today's little edition is going to be about Assassin's Creed. Eesh. Okay, now Assassin's Creed is being absolutely roasted and bombed by the critics. I think last time I looked it had like 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's terrible. Every critic's review I've been listening to, they've been saying how bad the film is. I don't get it. I don't understand where this hate for this film has come from. Now, it's a computer game adaptation, yes, which seems to automatically accrue some form of doubt from the critics because they don't believe there's such a thing as a good computer game adaptation to a movie yet. They kept hoping that Warcraft this year was going to be one, or if not that, then Assassin's Creed. And a lot of hope was pinned on Assassin's Creed. I saw this film and it's not as bad. I mean, I went in there after listening to these reviews and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a pile of crap. It really, really is, which is really disappointing because I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. I love the computer games. I've played them all other than the last two because there have been so many problems with the programming and glitches on the last two games. I just haven't been able to convince myself to pay the amount of money they want for these games until they've finished patching it. But I've played all the others, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and all the side-on, add-on things. I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic game series. It's got a fantastic story and plot, and the lore behind it is amazing and very deep and colourful. So it's fantastic. So as a fan of this game, I was listening to these reviews having had such high hopes for the movie, and it was killing me. It really was. So I went to see this film, as I say, with incredibly low expectations, and I really liked it. I mean, okay, it's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination. However, if we're going to go with comparisons here, if we're going to hold up the two big computer game movie adaptations for this year, Warcraft and Assassin's Creed, and say which one was best, I would have to say Assassin's Creed is the best one, purely because Warcraft tried to squeeze in so much lore from that universe, from those games, and there's hundreds of games, I think, by the way. There's just no end to the Warcraft stuff that you can get out there. And they tried to squeeze a lot in there in their first film, and that spoiled it for people who didn't know the genre of the game. Assassin's Creed, as it's set in the present, while looking back at the past, is something that's more accessible for modern day audiences. So based on that alone, it was easier. And also the plot behind Assassin's Creed isn't so diverse and in-depth, and it's just not so widespread. It's very confined. It's a one-line story. It's a storyline. It's set in the present day. It's a story that's easy and was begging to be told into a movie. It's a perfect plot for a movie. So where have they gone wrong and where have they done things right? Because as I say, this isn't a bad movie. I don't care what any of the other critics say. This movie is not as bad as everyone is making it out to be. So please, if you haven't seen it yet and if you have an inkling that you want to see it, I would say go and see it. You know, because it's not as bad as everyone's making it out to be, honestly. Okay, let me in my opinion, it's not as bad as everyone's making it out to be. Obviously, I don't know. You might go and see it and think, what the hell is he talking about? It's absolutely crap. I'm sorry if that is the case. Personally, in my opinion, I don't think it is. But there you go. So in this video, we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to have the pros and we're going to have the cons. So I'm going to, rather than rambling on, I'm going to set two parameters here, the good points and the bad points, and I'm going to list a few of what I thought were good for both. And at the end, I'll wrap it up, and you can make your own opinion on what you feel. Now, this is a spoiler review, so let me get that out of the way right now. This is a spoiler review. If you haven't seen the movie, go and see it, come back and watch this. If you have seen the movie, then fine. Carry on watching, and we'll see how we get on. So, okay, so let's get into the pros to start with. So the first pro in my mind is Aguilera and Maria's relationship. It really is the main point of the entire film, and it's the relationship that comes over the best. It's the warmest, and it's the one that you can bond with. It's absolutely beautiful to watch on screen. Second pro, everything set in 1492 Spain is absolutely gorgeous, down to the smallest detail. It looks warm, it looks fantastic, and if it had stayed in 1492, I really think this film would have done a lot better. Third pro, the cast. It's an absolutely fantastic cast. I mean, you've got Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, you've got Jeremy Irons and Brendan Gleeson, to name just a few, but you've also got Ariane Lebede, who's a French actress who plays Maria in 1492, one of the female assassin with Aguilera. So, I mean, an amazing cast here, absolutely fantastic, and they act their hearts out, they really do. You can't knock them for their acting. The cinematography is gorgeous. It's absolutely fantastic and superb. I mean, especially as I keep going back to the 1492, everything set in Spain during the Inquisition looks fantastic. It's colourful, it's warm, it's intriguing. You want to watch it. It sucks you in with the detail, and it just breathes. For the gamers of Assassin's Creed, there were quite a few Easter eggs in this. I mean, mostly you've got the equipment the assassins use, you've got the hidden blades, the wrist blades that they used. Also, when they're arming themselves after they've broken out at the end, you see Connor's bow from, I think it's Assassin's Creed 3, and you've got Altair's sword from the very first Assassin's Creed film. So they're in there, little Easter eggs there for the people. And also, you know, the outfits, the assassins' uniforms are perfect down to the smallest detail. Again, they look incredible. The equipment they use, the smoke bombs, straight out of the games. So anyone who's played the games will understand it, go with it, and love it. They'll absolutely love that. And that was one of the points for me that I loved about this film. The Abstergo logo is there straight away. Anyone who knows the games, that will jump out at you. The Creed, the Assassin's Creed, is said a couple of times, straight out of the games again. And then also you've got the removal of the ring finger. You see at the very beginning of the film, Michael Fassbender's assassin, Aguilera, is taken into the Assassin's Creed. He has his ring finger taken off, and that's for two main reasons. First is to show loyalty to the Creed, but secondly it's to facilitate the use of the hidden blade, the wrist blade. As you see in this picture here, he has to have that finger removed, otherwise the blade wouldn't work. And my final pro, the fight scenes and the stunts. I mean, the parkour looked absolutely incredible. We knew it was going to be. We saw that from the trailers, but when you're watching it in the film, it really, you're hanging on the edge of your seat watching these guys jumping across rooftops and over gaps and alleyways and roads. You can't take your eyes off them. And equally, the fight scenes are so incredibly well choreographed, both Michael Fassbender doing, it seems, a lot of his own stunts, and also Ariane Lebede doing a lot of her own stunts by the look of it on here. Now, I don't know if that's true. There could have been a lot of stunt doubles in here, but it looked really, really great. And the fights also in the future, in the present day, when they're fighting in the Abstergo facility, that was also very well done. I mean, the choreography in these fight scenes looked incredible, and it's what you need out of a film like this. You have to believe the fights are real, and you do. Okay, so that was some of the things that I loved about this film. Now, as with any film, let's look at the things that I didn't like so much. Let's look at a few of the things that were, in my opinion, a detraction from the film. See what you think. Number one, the editing with the fights. The way they cut between a fight that was going on in 1492 and then cut it and edited it so it appeared in the future with Michael Fassbender strapped to that weird mechanical arm, carrying out the same moves as you've just seen his ancestor do back in ancient Spain. It was just ridiculous. You were getting into the fight back in 1492 with Aguilera, and all of a sudden you're ripped out of that, put into the current day with Michael Fassbender who touched the metal arm, and it just ruined the fight. It didn't give you a chance to enjoy the fight like you needed to do. Bad mistake. Second, for me, the Animus. Anyone who doesn't know the games probably doesn't care about this, but for me, the Animus itself, which is attached to my previous point, if they'd have kept with the original Animus, which was basically just a table a contour table that you laid somebody on, and then a glass pane went over his head, and that was pretty much it. Once you were lying down, once the glass pane was in place, you were taken into the animus and sent back in time. If they'd have kept with that instead of the stupid metal arm, then everything would have been perfectly fine. You could have just stayed in the past with however long you needed to be, and then cut back to the future as he comes off of the table. That would have been fine. That would have worked. Lack of colour tones in the future. I mean, the current day white and blue and cold, and it just made everything boring. It made it so incredibly hard for you to get to grips with the characters in the present time. Talking of characters in the present day, lack of depth. I mean, Michael Fassbender's Callum Lynch, I mean, he's supposed to have been a bad guy, a violent guy, a guy who's on death row for killing a pimp in self-defense. But it made it very hard for you to bond with Callum because you didn't really understand him at all. You see him first as a young boy where his mother dies and his dad gets dragged away, but then you see him running off into the distance. Then 30 years later, you see him on death row, and then everything kicks off again. You don't know what's happened in those 30 years, so you don't care because you don't know anything about him. We should have spent more time in the past. Arguably, as I've said, that was the most interesting and intriguing part of this film, was everything that happened in 1492. Everything that happened in the present day, it was necessary, you had to have it, but there was too much of it. In the games, you spend 90% of your time in the past, 10% of your time in the present day. That's what they should have stuck to in this film, and it would have worked. The eagle transitions. Okay, we get the first one, the first two, maybe fine. That's a nod to the games because there's always eagle transitions in the games. But 3, 4, 5 eagle transitions between scenes, long eagle transitions. Didn't need them, don't care for them. They were just boring and slowed the film down. The small black crossbows that the Abstergo guards use in the present day. Why the hell are they using small black crossbows? Why aren't they using guns? And then finally the apple, the MacGuffin of the film. Everyone's looking for the apple, this all-important, powerful artifact that can control free will in humanity. But you don't really find out much about it. That's it. What I've just said is pretty much all you find out. And then at the end, when Jeremy Irons is holding it up and you see it start to light up, but then he's killed before you get a chance to know, well, what's it going to do? Why did the assassins held captive come and help Callum at the end? They're not telepaths. They would have no way of knowing that. And they hated him. They thought he was a traitor. Why did Marion Cotillard's character, Sophia, why did she care about Callum? She'd had dozens and dozens of people who she'd made brain dead with her experiments that we saw in that room. So why would she suddenly care about Callum? She doesn't know him. She gets him from death row. And then finally, the bleeding effect. In the games, you see it as the person who is suffering from it sees illusions, sees memories from his ancestors. He doesn't interact with them, he doesn't fight them. They don't appear like false ghosts, as I heard one reviewer call them. They don't all stand around him and gaze at him adoringly. That was lovely for the people who played the Assassin's Creed games, because you would have recognised all the assassins' uniforms that they were wearing. But why would his mum and dad suddenly pop back up like that? It makes no sense. They're not psychics, they're not mystics, they're not magical. So there you go. Not a good film, not a bad film. Better than the critics are making out. It has some flaws, it has some problems, it has some silly moments. I mean, I've named all of my main ones in my pros and cons list there. Another niggling one is the very end of the film, where Callum can just walk into the Templar stronghold, which seems to have hundreds of Templars around it, or in it, and can just walk up behind Alan Rickman, cut his throat, steal the apple, and get out, and everyone's just screaming and running around in terror. No, that I'm sorry, assassins aren't mystics. They're just well-trained human beings. That's all they are. The Templars are equally as well-trained, plus they have the money, they're a corporation, and they've got all the guards and the technology, whereas assassins tend to have to rely on knives, bows and arrows, even in nowadays. It might be slightly more advanced, but the Templars tend to have the edge, which is why they're killing off the assassins. So Callum wouldn't have been able to just wander into that Templar stronghold kill Rick and steal the apple and get away without at least a chase. So that was a bit weird. But there you go. That's my review on Assassin's Creed. It's good. It's a good film. Okay, it's got some problems, but it's a good film. So please ignore the reviews. If you're even slightly interested in going to see it, if you've got an inkling of curiosity, go and see it. Please. Don't let the critics put you off. Don't let me put you off. You know, this is just one person's opinion. Please go and watch the film. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a good film. It comes over. It's one of the best computer game adaptations for movies that I have ever seen, ever. So please, go and have a good time. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you later for another UK Media Watch.